Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our scenario is entitled Homecoming. It was written by Thomas McKeon, who is also our GM. This is episode 5, and I will be giving the recap as Clifton Hawk. So without further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. If darkness has a flavor, it's becoming my favorite. Light is good, and it deserves to exist. I even think it should be protected and preserved, but it's bland and almost tasteless. I've become addicted to something far more spicy. That doesn't make me evil, does it? This case turned spicy real fast, and I'm as giddy as a schoolgirl. Let's review. Timothy and Samantha Tucker seem on the surface to have been a nice couple. They have loyal friends, people who like them. She's pregnant with his child, I assume. They've been fixing up a nursery. Old Timmy is an architect and an artist who sadly landed right on the edge of something dark and sinister. We found a book in his study, a goddamn book, filled with Arabic and diagrams. I suppose if the book was cursed, all hell would have broken loose. It still might, before the end of all this. Anyway, Timmy went missing on March 18th, the day after he wrote a big check to someone named W. Darby, who we've kind of determined is not in New York City. Following his disappearance, his sister and brother arrived to begin the search. Best guess is that Arthur Tucker found out something about the true nature of the dark connection here and went off his nut. The result was a glorious mess all over the penthouse bathroom. I nearly kicked the beam. When you live in the darkness, the light can confuse you. For a while, I felt that nothing really made any clear sense. Then Tommy Anderson pipes up. He reminds us that so far, the people we're talking to, they seem like really nice people. His gut tells him that Timmy's a good man, and it seems more likely he uncovered something naughty going on at work. It's the bad guys who are looking for him. We had an accountant take a quick look at that ledger we found, and his eyes nearly popped out of his skull. Now there's a mental image for you. In keeping with Tommy's hypothesis, Timmy didn't like what was going on at work and was going to expose the dirty dealings. Either that or he was told to hide the ledger. Whatever the case may be, old Timmy was either bumped off or he's gone into hiding. I grilled his neighbor, his best friend, Ralph Morgan, about it. And I think he's telling the truth when he says he has no idea where Tim might be. We're all tempted to bluff our way into the municipal building, though to be honest, I doubt anything is there that hasn't already been washed and dried by the people who work there, especially if the bad guys know that Tim was involved. If the criminals are the ones in charge, then Timmy was a fool to run. By running, he's left a clear trail straight to his home. If they're looking for the guy who stole their incriminating ledger and then one of their employees disappears, you can bet which direction they'll be going in. I think they already did. Everyone, including us, is under surveillance. In fact, I think by now they're getting kind of lazy and they just want us to find him. We'll do the dirty work for them. We got Union Trust looking for the location of Darby. That's going to take a couple of days. There was one little thing, a shadow, a phantasm, something that my dark mind ties to the book and the blood and the thing that calls out to me at night. The little Morgan girl told us that Timothy Tucker used to walk out into his yard at night and just stare at the fence, probably stare into nothingness. He was troubled or in trouble. and he knew his happy life was over. He was trapped, not just by the fence, but by circumstances beyond his control, and he needed to work out a plan of escape. He knew what he would be leaving behind: a pregnant wife, carrying his child, a child he may never see, a happy home, friends who loved him. That's what it's like when the light fades. We all die alone and in the dark. Part of me feels sorry for him. Part of me hopes that he'll return to his wife, live to see his own kid grow up, paint his little pictures. But part of me chuckles at the tragedy. That kind of shit is so far removed from my life that it seems almost alien. If hell is waiting for me at the end of all of this, I won't be in the least bit surprised.
All right. So you guys are leaving the accountant's office. You've just stepped out of the building onto the sidewalk. Cars are running through the street. There are people. It's a crowded sidewalk. It's around 4:30. That's what you guys went around 4 to the accountant's office. So it's around 4:30. Thompson is not with you. Thompson, last episode you weren't here, so we kind of took it upon ourselves to assume that you were looking through the Book of the Beyond.
Okay, sounds good. It sounds like something I would do anyway.
Okay, so we'll reintroduce you at some point.
Yeah, take your time.
As for the others, what would you like to do? You've just left the accountant's office. What's next? Tom, you are muted.
So, aside from Henry, we're all together. Where is Marcus Finley? Is he back at the house?
Well, you guys didn't actually go back to the house, but you can assume he's probably there.
Okay. Guys, something's been bothering me. I think that we need to find out get the police report on everything that took place up in that apartment, according to the New York City detective. Because that's what we were originally involved in, and that seems to have been sort of swept under the carpet. The thing is that Marcus Finley's the one who kind of swept that under the carpet for us. He's also involved in this case, and we've started to realize that people are looking for him. Marcus doesn't have a lot of money. What if the corrupt bad guys got to Marcus and he's just watching what's going on? I'm not so sure that he didn't have something to do with Arthur's murder. There's just, he's got to be involved in some way. In some bad way, I think. Maybe not, but he's sure in a convenient spot.
Well, with a guy like that, I can't help but wonder whether, is he just working for the family? Is he maybe working for someone else as well?
Well, that's just it.
Double agent.
Yeah, I mean,
Why
if he
was
knows...
he downstairs? Why was he downstairs while Arthur was being murdered upstairs? Why was he sneaking around? His reaction too, when Arthur was killed, just sort of like, "Oh, Arthur." It's just, and why were we kind of pushed out of that whole thing? Now he tells us that the police are corrupt, but then maybe he just doesn't want us to go to the police.
To interject, Fowler, who has interacted with the police, knows for a fact that they're corrupt.
Yes, they are corrupt.
Yeah, but the police are hundreds of people. They can't all be corrupt.
Well, remember, one bad apple will spoil the whole crop.
Well, in New
Look,
York City,
correct me if I'm wrong, but because I was out on the balcony when Finley came in. But from the reaction I saw when I came in and he was on the phone, it seemed like he didn't really press the issue of any of us being responsible for the murder, if it was a murder.
no, that's
He
true.
seemed quite relaxed about the whole presence of a dead body as well.
There's something there. Second, third, we need to know what to do with the ledger. Now, have we told Finley that we have the ledger?
I don't think we did. And honestly, I don't want to tell Finley. And
You showed Bethany and Samantha the ledger, but you said, "What is this? Do you know what it is?" And they said they don't know. That's all that you did.
Okay, so Finley hasn't seen the ledger.
and honestly, I don't want Finley to have it.
Well, that's a question of what do we do with the ledger. I think that we could keep it in a safety deposit box to keep it safe. But the only person that we know for sure is investigating the corruption at City Hall is Governor Roosevelt. And I'm inclined to say, get that book into his hands directly.
Do you really want to give that to him? I guess he's a good guy.
Well, if he's investigating all the corruption that's going on, then yes, he is the guy that we want to give it to. But we don't want to give it to a secretary and have her give it to him. We want it to be in his hands directly.
It would be helpful if we actually knew what was going on before we handed it.
Yeah, honestly.
Hence, we put it into a safety deposit box where nobody can get to it.
Just wait 1 second. We're outside our my accountant's office, right?
Or
Yes,
we're getting into the car. Yeah.
It's a big building. You're probably getting into the car down the block.
Well, before we do that, I'm like, we could make him, my accountant do a little more research on all our stuff, and then the next day, so that we actually don't,
I don't want to leave it with him. For all we know,
the accountant wants it left with him either, by the sound of his reaction.
Yeah. I don't know if there's an accountant's network, and he's going to say, get on the grapevine now, and we've just got to make sure that this ledger gets into the right hands. And I think that's the second reason why we're here, is to find out what happened to Timmy. Here's the thing. Once that ledger is in the hands of the proper authorities, then if Timmy's in hiding, he no longer has any reason to hide, because the danger to him, I mean, I assume that they would capture him and torture him to try to get the ledger. Once they know that the good guys have the ledger, then Timmy's basically safe. He can come back to his wife and future kid.
Well, I mean, if there are people after it, then I think the only realistic thing is to follow your plan of putting it in a safe deposit box for now.
Right.
We definitely don't want that in a position where it could be snatched from us.
I've been thinking too, well, what do you think about the $300 he paid to W. Darby? The day before.
That's a lot of cash.
Could he have purchased some sort of a ticket or a cruise to get out of the country?
Or another thing is maybe a fake, a pretty good fake ID.
Well,
for that money,
$300, yeah, holy crap, that would get you.
No, I meant like the whole kind of deluxe package, fake ID,
still
everything.
Well, but it could have been. It could have been.
If he knows all information.
We'll know more when we find out where Darby is.
Hey, something occurs to me. I mean, maybe I've been reading too many cheap novels, because I do read a lot of cheap novels when I'm on those interminable train trips between different theatres. But what if this W. Derby and Timothy are the same guy? What if he just paid a check to this other person so that he now has that $300?
And he's
That-
anonymous.
Yeah.
That's actually a good idea there, Felix.
That would work. I mean, he needs to get the money out of his account, but he can't. If he just takes the money, it still points to him, but in this case, it points to someone else.
I could be completely wrong. I mean, you know.
What do you think, Tommy?
Don't you have to show ID to get a check cashed?
Yeah, but then you can also have like yeah, it's kind of
No, you can double endorse it. You could write on the back of it. He could handwrite the last name, Darby, and then he could write his own name underneath it.
Mind you, I think I've outthought myself there, because he could have just made it out to cash.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. What do you think about Marcus? I can't understand his position in all this.
Well, he was. Wait, Marcus. Yeah. He was hired. He's just like us, right?
Maybe. We should investigate him a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd like to know a bit more about him.
I mean, none of us have actually checked to see whether there actually is a law firm or a private eye. You know, we could be leaving some stones unturned that, I mean, at the very least, we can find out that he's just who he says he is. Still, even if he is, one of the corrupt bad guys said, here's $500, tell us everything that you find out. Corruption is everywhere.
We don't know what kind of a man he is, do we?
But yeah, like I said,
We know he's a man. Sorry, go ahead, Corey.
I don't trust Finn. I don't trust Marcus.
We know that he's a man who stays in flea bag motels with prostitutes and puts us up there. So he ain't got no money.
Yeah, there seems to be
Or he
disconnect
has
between
money,
the man he is and the sort of
wanna-
people he's being employed by.
or he has money, but is a cheapskate.
No, he doesn't have money. People who have money do at least something that shows they got money. Have nice shoes.
Do we know how how they found him? Was he recommended to them by someone?
We don't know. We should ask the family why.
If you remember in a previous episode, you asked that question. Samantha and Bethany told you that he was recommended by the police, the detective investigating the disappearance of Timothy.
Okay, well, there you go. The detective, a detective of the New York Police Department, recommends Finley, and then Finley turns around and tells us that the police department's all corrupt. So there's something really not making any sense there. Let's find that detective and see what he knows.
Well, I already knew that before, but
I did notice that when Mr. Finley was speaking to us early on, he mentioned a partner and then changed his mind and said, the name of his detective agency was just his name, as if something had happened in the background.
I remember that. Wasn't it something like Finley and Moore?
That was the exact name, Finley and Moore.
Maybe the other detective was bumped off. Who knows?
Well, we can find out who knows. I mean, obviously, there's all these things where we should be able to trace. All these might be goose chases. What is it? Goose chase?
A wild goose chase.
A wild goose chase. But at least we'll know. We can eliminate those avenues of of going in those directions. But I think we really need to find out what the hell happened to Arthur. I never did get a chance to examine this the stuff that Tommy said was under the bed. We really only did a cursory look around that room before Finley showed up and shushed us away. Seemed awfully convenient. He could have been waiting downstairs for us to arrive so that he knew that we would go upstairs and find that stuff, and then he could come right afterwards. Even though 10 minutes earlier he was up there murdering Arthur. I mean, he wanted us to get our fingerprints all around the room.
Honestly, I don't think Marcus would kill.
Why would you say that? You don't know the man.
I don't know the man, but he doesn't seem like a guy who would do that.
Murderers never seem like murderers. That's the whole point of murderers.
William turns to Tommy and kind of nudges him and said, I don't think he's clever enough for that, you know? He's not like university guys like us.
Well, that's a pretty good...
Anybody who wears a bright mustard-colored suit is not in the habit of murdering people trying to remain unseen.
I don't know. What does the magician say about distractions and the bright yellow suit's exactly the kind of distraction that keeps you from looking at the hand on the gun.
Well, what makes me think that he's running some sort of scam is the ease with which he accepted that we were nothing to do with the killing. Which, if he was that willing to encourage us in on the case, after finding us there with a dead body, that makes me think that he's now looking at that as something he could potentially have over us. That he now thinks he has leverage, or that he wants us to do his job for him.
He is kind of just along for the ride and getting paid for it.
I think he knows more than he's saying. And
So
I
what
certainly
now?
don't think we should tell him about the ledger.
You guys are sitting in Fowler's car. He hasn't even turned the key.
Let's head right back over to the bank. Get a safety deposit box and put that ledger in there.
Okay. Of course I start the car and we go.
Well, that's relatively easy to do. It takes no time at all for someone like Fowler, who lives in the city, to show them a New York State ID, fill out a residence form, hand it there, put $2 down, about $15 for a security deposit box, and then boom, you have a box.
Okay.
So that's really minutia. After you have it stored and it's safe and you have a key, Fowler, what now? What's your what do you want to lead to?
I'd like to find out who the detective in charge of the investigation.
Where is Professor Thompson? Is he at?
Most likely at the hotel. For everyone who wasn't here when I explained it before the show, you guys are at the Hillcrest Hotel on the 4th floor. You guys have gotten a suite, so it's 4 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. So that way, you guys kind of have like an apartment. You will all stay at. You're all localized into one room, essentially. Everyone but Fowler. Fowler has his own apartment.
Why don't we head back over there and see what Henry's come up with on that Arabic translation?
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'd be
Sounds
intrigued
good.
to know if he thinks that book might be worth $300 as well.
Okay. Well, then let's jump to Professor Thompson.
Okay. Oh, well, just really quick, Felix, you just hit on something there. What if the book is what Timothy paid $300 for?
I'm just saying that because, the last time we got together, there was a very valuable book in the offing. And
That's true.
Yeah. Well,
that
I don't
how
know
much-
anything about it.
Well, now I know how much old books can be worth. I mean, I was just thinking,
Well, and at least we haven't seen any apparitions of Keziah Mason running around, so I don't think the book's cursed.
maybe we should take it to like a book dealer or something, see what they think.
Well, we'll see.
I
All right,
heard-
let's go back.
I heard there was a good book dealer in Castronegro if anyone wants to go and get it priced.
That's a long way to go, though.
I'm up
It
for a
is.
holiday. I mean, $25 a day. I'll go anywhere.
All right, Thompson, I would like you to make a language own roll. I'd like you to make 2. One with bonus dice and one without.
With one with what?
One with bonus dice and one without. I want you to give me the sum of, or the if you passed both.
Okay. So I passed the first one with a 70. I passed the second one with a 47. And you said roll a third time?
No, I just needed 2. One with bonus dice and one without. Okay, so ignore the cat who's meowing in the background. So what you have, essentially, the book from Beyond is a philosophy / spell book that was written by, as I said previously, a scribe priest named Tal Hafif from the 21st dynasty of Egypt. He was under the authority of the high priest of Amum. According to what you've been kind of skimming through, it's all written, the first portion is written first person by Tal Hafif, who essentially says that they gathered in a mausoleum, or not a mausoleum, like a temple. And the high priest gathered in a circle and prepared a ritual. The priest underwent this hypnotic ritual, and this allowed them as a collective to manifest and speak to the god Thoth. Thoth apparently appeared in a physical form using the Thoth.
Okay, so
Tote.
Thoth.
I know I know what you were getting at. But yeah,
Okay,
it is tote like the bag.
And then everything past the manifestation of the god is then the god telling all these people. It's literally it's written from he's transcribing the words that were literally given by Tote.
So I mean, okay, so what do I know of Tote? Based on my history and archaeology.
Well, go ahead and if you want to give me an archaeology or an anthropology roll, that's fine.
And I passed that. Just barely though. I got a 70 out of 71.
Well, how much do you, Wayne, have?
I mean, I can look it up, but I mean, like, I'm trying to remember. There's so many of those Egyptian gods.
Tote was the god of knowledge.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, he basically transcribed everything that the gods did and then handed it down to the Egyptian people.
Okay.
I may be wrong, Mick. I may be wrong. I believe that's what happened. I believe he was the transcriber. He was the literal scribe of the gods.
So if I were to do a comparison, he's kind of like Mercury or Hermes in a way. He's like
Exactly that.
Yeah, he is basically he is both the scribe and the messenger of the gods. He is delivering the gods' words upon the people, but he's only delivering the opinion of the gods from the one side. He doesn't speak for Set and all the gods of the darkness, essentially.
Right, the good guys.
He, if I remember correctly, he was just beneath.
I think Set is actually misunderstood.
Oh, okay. The beast. But it's written, the book from Beyond is written very poetically from the time that Thoth is brought forth. Because Thoth apparently speaks in these flowing words. But it's just Thoth literally telling them a whole bunch of stuff.
Keep on calling him Thought. I understand he's God of knowledge, but
Yeah.
It's-
Well, Thoth. 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 Not thought. Not that hoe over there. But there is something that that it focuses on primarily. He's crying because he can't get into the closet. He doesn't need to get into the closet, Carl. But yeah, something that should be brought to your attention, Thompson, is that Thought, whatever you want to call him, calls himself and the other beings elder gods.
In my research and knowledge of like ancient Egyptian, would I have ever come across the ancient Egyptian gods referring to themselves as the elder gods?
Not particularly.
Hmm.
I would
Yeah,
like
because like elder god would be the same as like the old gods, and during that time there were no other gods; they were new. So, huh? Yeah,
go
you would like me to
ahead.
do?
Go ahead and add one Cthulhu Mythos to your skill.
Oh wow! And I lose some sanity. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tommy Tom.
You could argue that the term elder actually refers to your superior, like your
The
elder.
highest.
So
Like how?
not necessarily
Okay.
older than you, because they're more important than you.
Well, the book from Beyond also does mention the old gods. There were the old gods, and then there are the elder gods, and he makes it's a very small section of passage, but he makes the difference, saying that he and others are elder gods, but fear the old gods and their ways. One of the old gods he mentions is Set, the beast.
Okay.
But that's really it. It's really just a bunch of. You could literally just say that this is a bunch of nonsense. It's a bunch of hooey that some guy in the
Well, I'm not.
early.
I don't say that it's hooey because I understand that this was like an ancient religion, and this is part of ancient culture's beliefs. So I actually find it fascinating, particularly the rituals. And have I ever come across? I mean, I've done studies with like ancient. That's the reason why I have Aramaic as like the one of the elder or older languages spoken. Would I've come across anything that would have dealt with maybe the writings of Tote? And does this seem similar to what I've come across?
Not really. This it like now it could just be because it's been watered down. You know, this was from literally 3,000 years ago. It's been translated.
I would imagine that particularly with the Egyptians and the way that the hieroglyphs were, if they actually believe that the stuff that they're writing, that they're transcribing, is coming from the gods, that they would have it as exact as they have interpreted it. So basically what I'm thinking of is like if I see like a row of hieroglyphs, and let's say this row of hieroglyphs comes from Tote, and what you're telling me is that this is something that doesn't seem in the same vein or the same sort of writing. Because even though you have like high priests, they were all more or less like write the same in my imagination. I mean, this is just me coming off the top of my head, but I would think that all the high priests would be taught how to, write these hieroglyphs in the same exact sort of form.
What you can tell is that it's very fitting. Now, something that should be noted is that like there's never been a book transcribed that said this is the literal word of a god. A god came down and said, "Hello there. Thompson, here's this. So there's no real reference point, but it does match up with the actions of Tote. Mimic things that have been brought up in the mythos of the Egyptian canon. You know, he is benevolent. He is there to give knowledge to human beings.
Okay.
He is here to pass down knowledge from the gods to us. He is here to help.
Here's another question. Based off of my understanding of the Egyptian pantheon, is there a trickster god? Pretty much every culture has a trickster god, but is there a trickster god? And who is that god?
You could there are several that you could say are tricksters. I mean, you could make the case that Isis is a trickster. She tricked Ra into coming out into a field and getting bit by a snake. But
you could say Set is.
But Set is Set, the beast, is the trickster god. He is the encapsulation of all things.
He's misunderstood, people. He's the god of death. Like, basically, Anubis is the judge. Set is the god of death.
Actually, Osiris is the god of death.
Yeah, Osiris is the god of death.
Set is the god of evil.
Yeah, he is the all-encapsulating evil. He is the beast. Osiris, and something that should be mentioned is that Tote is, in what I've read, he is the right hand of Osiris. He is transcribing Osiris's words.
But wasn't Osiris killed and cut up by Set?
That's when he became god of the underworld.
Yeah. Okay.
So he was resurrected. It's kind of the Christian. Okay.
He was transcended by the judgment of the gods, and he became king of the underworld. But Osiris is also, note, he is what I would consider a neutral god. He's just there. He's just much like Anubis. Anubis is just the god of passing judgment. There's no evil inclination. Set, his whole thing is, I want to destroy everything. I want to kill everything, trick humans.
The crocodile god. Okay.
So
that's who Anubis feeds the souls of the wicked to when he weighs the heart.
But
I thought it was. I don't know.
But yes,
I've been reading these transcripts or manuscripts too long, so
it is at this point that the others arrive. I imagine. I think that you guys were going to meet back with Thompson.
Yes.
Okay. Well, they have entered into the room. So Thompson's sitting in the living room. The book is out.
I'm rubbing the bridge of my nose like I've been poring over this for too long, and I need a break.
Yes.
I need something strong to drink, stronger than coffee. If you get my meaning. What time is it?
It's about 5:00
p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
PM.
All right, so it won't be improper to get a strong drink if I can find it somewhere.
Let me interject this just for a second because it's kind of interesting. Set is considered the god of deserts, storms, disorder, violence, and foreigners in ancient Egypt. In Greek, his name is pronounced Sith, which I think is interesting. Sith.
Only Sith steal and absolutes.
In Greek as well, he's also in Greek mythology, he would correspond to Typhon.
Yeah.
Sometimes describe. Kenneth Grant talks of Set Typhon quite a lot as an archetype. In the early days of the Thelemic Cetian current. Interesting stuff, that.
So, Thompson is sitting on the couch. You have entered. The door has closed behind you. What would you like to discuss?
Well, I imagine the first thing we do is we ask him what he's discovered, which
you
just told us. Yeah.
Yes, I have just told you. All right. So
So the book itself just seems like
An old ancient religion with
so it's
with like rituals, like ancient rituals,
like the Book of the Dead or any of those other things. It's not really.
I mean, and I look at the book, and although I'm rubbing the bridge of my nose, and I seem exhausted from like spending hours reading over this and trying to translate it. I do try to keep it a bit close to me because this might actually end up in my own personal private library.
Inside the front or back cover, has anybody penciled in a price?
I'll look at it. Is there any sort of price in it? I wouldn't have noticed that.
The book does not seem to have a price. It doesn't. It seems to also be very well used.
Let me ask you this: can you describe what the book looks like?
Sure.
Just a basic description.
It's an old green book, hard covered with the spine, which is very worn. It's been opened quite a few times, so it's literally splitting down the sides. There is gold etched, or it's not gold, but it's gold etchings of Arabic words, probably saying "Book of Beyond."
Book of the Beyond.
So we can guess a couple of things. One is the book itself isn't ancient. It's a translation.
No, it's printed. The words are printed in Arabic, and then there's handwritten English between the lines.
Okay.
So it, like I said, it's not like it's a book that
it's not like the original. It's a copy of a copy, basically.
Yeah. Probably a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy.
Right, and it's written in Arabic, so the original might have been written in hieroglyphics.
Yes.
Or maybe even something older than that.
What about the little note that we found? Did you translate that?
The note. Did I get a chance to translate that?
Oh, was he here for that? Maybe he doesn't know about the note.
I think he was here for that. I don't think he.
The note?
Was it last week?
No. It was when you guys were in the house. There was a handwritten note on the inside cover.
Which was from the woman. What was her name? Was it from the woman?
Tally. No.
Tally was from the.
Tally.
This was a slip of paper in that book.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't get a chance to look at that then, because all I seen was the note from Tally.
Well, Dr. Henry, get to work.
Go ahead and
I would have. I mean, like if I'm poring over this book and this note was in it, I would have read it. It might have been the first thing I would have read because it would have been
tucked away.
It had probably been easier to transcribe and to translate.
Go ahead and give me you have Aramaic, correct?
Yeah.
Go ahead and give me an Aramaic roll. It needs to be a hard.
It is not a hard, and it is a fail. So.
Okay. So Dr. Thompson does not know what is on the inside of the book.
The inside of the book. I mean, I glanced at it. It's Aramaic, but it's a strange form, maybe different dialect or something.
Definitely Arabic.
Is it? Or well, yeah. But I didn't take the time to read through that. I thought it might have just been maybe a citation or something like that, or this book belongs to so and so. So I dove further into the book rather than try to spend a lot of time looking at this. But I can spend a bit more time, and I will try to decipher it. So I'll take some time to do that, basically. Which means that I will roll until
roll and do it with bonus dice this time. It needs, like I said, it needs to be a hard.
It needs to be a hard.
If you're gonna spend some time, the people and the others are gonna sit there waiting for you to go. I got it.
Let me have a look at it. I bet I can translate it.
Yeah, I bet Hawk could translate it for you.
Well, that's not a heart.
Even Fowler could too.
That's not a heart, but it was close.
All right, give me one more. For each one is just an hour past.
No, I failed them both. So
Okay, you obviously need some sleep.
well, yeah. It's been
It is now about 7:00 at night. You guys have been, you've
Hey,
eaten dinner.
but by the way, Hawk. I mean, I know you're the man to go to, but I need something stronger to drink than tea or coffee. Tommy's been lacking in his tea making thing.
Well, from what we understand, this place is corrupt, so we should be able to get some alcohol. We could just order some.
Wait a minute. When was so? What year is this? But I mean, outside of the game, what year is this again?
It is 1931. So
And when was Prohibition?
34.
34.
34. Okay.
I think it's 34. I'm pretty sure.
It's either 34 or 36. It was the beginning of World War. It was
I honestly, with what's going
Man came out
Oh.
because they were getting properly drunk in that film.
Well, with the crash going on, they should just lift this dumb prohibition. This
it's a stupid law.
let people, at least if you're losing all your money and everything like that, and your home and everything else, at least be able to drown your sorrows in some whiskey.
Well, I'd rather see if people are going to drink. I'd rather than drink decent whiskey than that gut rot that's about these days.
Well, yeah.
Question: has anybody told anybody else other than the people in this party? Have you guys told anybody where you're staying?
We probably would have told the family.
Okay. Then the phone rings.
Okay.
The only
William,
person
you're closest to the phone.
the only person I would have told I couldn't get a hold of for some reason. She's
Off the grid.
off the grid.
William, answer the damn phone.
You're closest. Or you hear the phone.
I answer the phone because Mr. Hawk asked me to.
You hear a woman's voice say, "Hello."
Hello, William speaking.
William, you're the young one, and it's the voice of Bethany. She says, "Could I speak to either Hawk or Felix or Thompson or Fowler, please?"
Here you are, Mr. Hawk.
Give it to somebody else. I'm looking for alcohol.
Great Bamboni, would you like to speak to Bethany?
Well, if no one else is available, yes, madam. How can I help you?
Felix, as soon as you do that, you hear she begins stuttering. She's, "Is this Felix?"
It is, yes.
It is there's a definite shift in her voice when you begin talking to her. She goes, yes. Tell me, you spent the day looking for my brother. Is that correct?
We did, yes.
And did you find anything useful?
I'm not really sure. We may have found one or two leads, but nothing's come of it yet. I know that the others were pursuing other angles, so we're about to sit down and have something of a conference and try and pool our resources for the day.
Oh, yes, and she definitely sounds a little odd. Definitely not the stern, mean woman that everyone else heard. And she goes, "Oh well, keep me informed."
Oh, I absolutely will.
Thank you.
Rest assured of that.
Thank you, Mr. Epstein.
You're very welcome. Is there anything else I can do for you?
And there's a pause, and she just goes, "No, I think I'll be okay. And she kind of she kind of clears her throat and that demeanor returns, and she says, "I'll call you if anything happens over here." Felix, not Felix, Marcus is currently outside. He thinks he saw someone walking down the street. So we're kind of just waiting until we get the all clear. I'll call you if anything happens.
Yes, please do.
And she hangs up.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Love you.
Yep.
That was rather abrupt.
That was rather. I didn't really say that, Bill. Yeah, that was rather. She sounded. She sounded rather odd. I think she may be suffering from a little ennui.
Felix, give me a psychology roll.
Do you think that maybe somebody was there listening?
That possibly could be the case.
Oh, 14 out of 40.
Felix, she sounded flustered.
She sounded a little flustered to me.
How do you mean?
Discombobulated, perhaps.
I'm wondering if somebody might have been there.
Do you think they could be in danger? Is it worth going over?
I don't
Remember
know.
the
What
men
if they're
in
looking
black?
for us?
Well,
Yeah.
look, I think for the amount of money we're being paid, we can't appear too keen, can we? Really? I mean, we're getting $25 a day for this. If we think that there's a problem, we should be prepared to act on our own recognizances and just go over there to check. There was a mention that she said that Finley had thought he'd seen someone hanging around outside.
She certainly didn't sound like her usual self.
I think it would show goodwill on our part if we just drove over there just to make sure everything was okay.
All right.
Tonight?
Even if we come straight back, I mean, at least we've shown willing. These people.
Yeah, we can do that.
These people are paying us a lot of money. I mean, I think, they deserve this level of coverage.
If you're too tired, Dexter, you can just go home. There's plenty
Yeah,
of
it
us.
doesn't take all of us. Like just one or two of us could do it.
Hey, I'm going to follow us till the end.
Well, if everything's okay, Tommy can make us all a cup of tea before we come back again.
Hey now. 1 lump or 2?
All right.
2, and I'll have some sugar as well, please.
Thank you, Tommy.
Who all is going over to the Tucker house then?
I guess I'm going to the Tucker house.
Let's not mention anything about the safety
I
deposit.
certainly will.
Okay. Nothing about the safety deposit box, and everyone is going but Tommy. Tommy's staying behind to make tea.
Oh, we
No.
We have a
coming.
spot
It's going to stew by the time we get back.
I was going to say.
No, I meant he can make tea at the house.
At the house.
Yeah.
I'm sure Samantha would love that.
Well, William packs his boomerang just in case there's any guys outside he needs to throw it at.
Yeah, we're all.
Boomerang.
Oh, you still have that, huh? Let's all go, and we'll just, it's better that we've got numbers.
I know it might sound. I'm going to just bring my gun just to make sure.
Don't you just bring your gun everywhere? I do.
Well, that's because you're a professional, and
Don't talk about that, Thompson.
Psst, burn.
Okay. So everyone is going. That's fine. So you all go down to the lobby. You go down onto the street. Relatively peaceful. Okay.
Well, William wants to have a little scan about because he's kind of got a little bit of obsessed about these figures in black that have been seen. So he's keeping an eye out just in case there's anybody watching our hotel as we go over.
Okay. Well, there's not a whole lot of people out right now. It's relatively cold. It's a little nippy, so people are kind of inside right now. Hawk, give me a spot hidden.
23 out of 70. That's bad. That's hard.
Okay. So you guys get into the car, and you guys drive away.
Okay.
So, drive the 25 minutes to Queens from Manhattan. You pull up in front of the house. You can see that down the street there are two teenage girls helping probably their father. They're chipping away ice on the steps up to their front door. So they're just working at the ice, trying to get it up and off. The kids aren't playing outside. Remember that it's about 7:30 right now. It's not particularly late. People are probably just starting to have dinner. And you guys are making your way up to the front door. Who is taking lead? Felix? Felix is knocking. He made a knocking gesture.
I'm knocking with a rat-a-tat-tat.
All right. So you hear footsteps. The door opens. It is Bethany. She's wearing a button-up shirt. She kind of let it loose. Dress pants. No shoes. She's barefoot. And as soon as she opens the door, she looks right at Felix, and you kind of see her eyes go wide, and she goes, "Oh, Mr. Epstein." And then she looks behind Felix and at all of you and says, "And all of you. Can I help all of you?" And she kind of opens the door fully.
Absolutely.
We were a little concerned by your mention of activity outside the house. We thought we'd just pop over and make sure everything was all right.
You then hear Samantha in the kitchen because, like I said, they're just making dinner. Go, "Who is it?" And Bethany turns around and says, "It's Mr. Epstein and the others." And she opens the door fully and says, "Well, come inside. You're standing out in the cold."
Well, we wouldn't want to intrude on your dinner. We were just, as I say, we were just concerned. Is Finley here?
Finley is making rounds around the block. Why? Do you need to speak with him? It's fine if you want to stay here, Mr. Epstein.
Well, perhaps if we just remained here until Finley calls back, we'd just like to make sure everything's okay.
Of course. And she smiles at you.
I'm going to quickly pull out my notebook and write a note on it that says, "Is everything all right? Is there someone else in the house?" Something like that. And as they're standing there, I'm just going to hold that up so that she can see it.
She narrows her eyes to read it and then looks up at you and goes, "Mr. Hawk, are you a dimwit? Get inside the house."
Apparently I'm a dimwit.
Huh.
All right.
She likes me.
Maybe that's it. She's just starstruck. Well, I sheepishly put my notebook back away and
Well, William,
staring at the teenagers down the street chipping the ice off of their front porch at 7:30 at night and follow you on.
William decides now that he's been hanging about with detectives for a few days that this is maybe his new career path. So he takes a wander around the garden, has a look down the street and all that before he comes in and joins everybody.
And William, as you're taking a look around, you see Marcus coming up the block from Pop's store. And when he sees you from the porch, and he kind of just waves. But also, I need you to give me a spot hidden.
Well, he might think he's a detective, but he's not very good at some of this stuff. That was a huge fail.
Okay, that's fine. So yeah, Marcus is coming up the block. Bethany, when she kind of fully walks in, she's just letting you guys close the door when you all enter, and she goes, Samantha, could we maybe put a cup of a pot of tea on or something like that? We have guests. And you see Samantha come out. Her hair is let down. It's not in the bun that it was yesterday. And she just kind of smiles. She beams when she sees all of you and says, well, good evening.
Good evening.
She looks at Tommy and says, Tommy, could you maybe put the tea kettle on the stove? I'm making dinner right now.
Absolutely, I can do that.
I actually grin at Tommy when she does that. Like, you know how I like my tea, by the way, right?
And she pushes the door open and allows you to enter into the kitchen with her. And she's smiling very fondly at Tommy. And as soon as he kind of passes her, they enter into the kitchen and the door swings closed. Bethany crosses her arms and leans up against the first post of the stairs, and she goes, Mr. Hawk, why do you think that someone is in my home?
It just seemed odd that you called us. I thought perhaps you were trying to tell us that somebody was coercing you or forcing you, or...
Why would I be paying Mr. Finley to protect us? Why would I call you? I would call him. He's also always here.
Why did you call us?
Because you're investigating my brother's disappearance, and I want to be kept informed of everything that happens.
That's fair enough.
And then she kind of glances over at Felix. Hawk, give me a spot hidden.
42 out of 70, so it's not a hard, but it's a pass.
Now give me a psychology.
Uh, 63 out of 70, so I passed.
She definitely softens when she looks at, and she kind of like very quickly looks at Felix and then looks directly back at you, and you see that she softens when she looks at him. Says, well, we're fine.
I see.
And the door opens, and Finley comes in. He stamps his feet at the door. Water kind of spills from his feet onto the hardwood, and you just see Bethany kind of just like grit her teeth, like she's furious. And Finley looks at all of you and says, "Oh, good to see you again." And he closes the door. And says,
I'm going to straighten my tie and cuffs and make myself look a bit more presentable.
And Marcus sees you, Felix, and he goes, "You don't need to get all fancy with me." And he and he takes off his jacket and he kind of just like puts it on the ground. And he says, "So how's the first day going?"
Pretty good. Do have a question for you though. You think you can get us the detective's report on the place where Arthur, the penthouse, what happened there?
Oh yeah.
What evidence they found?
That's
they probably chalked it all up to suicide, but they'd still have a detailed list of everything they found.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's Brian. Brian's a good guy. Yeah, I can get that for you.
All right, excellent.
When do you need it by? I can probably have it here tomorrow evening. Probably
that would
just
be cool.
24 hours. All right.
That'd be cool.
And he takes out a notebook and he writes it down. And he says, "So didn't get a chance to talk to Bethany. She called you, right?"
Yes, she did.
And Finley kind of raises an eyebrow at her, and she just shrugs and says, "They're still looking. They haven't found anything really substantial yet."
Well, she kind of alarmed us. We thought that maybe there was somebody in the house.
And Marcus laughs and says, "I don't think anyone's getting into this house anytime soon. I'm literally sleeping right out front."
You could be tied up in a closet somewhere. And...
Wow.
Oh, why does this seem unreasonable to everybody?
And he takes that and he looks down at his portly belly and he says, "They got to have a lot of rope."
Well, we've considered a lot of the evidence that we have so far, and now, mind you, we don't know any of this is true yet, but we suspect that Timothy is not dead, that he is hiding.
Well, of course he is.
He's gotten involved in something, and he just needs to lay low for a while.
And Finley nods and says, "You think it's the city, right? He works for the city, and
Or somebody else. He liked to gamble."
And Finley kind of chuckles and he says, "Well, Samantha told me about his gambling. $2 over at the neighbor's house isn't what I would say. He likes gambling." And he leans up against the door.
If that's the full extent of it, we'll see. We're still investigating, of course.
Bethany then chimes in and says, "Timothy would never gamble." And then Marcus kind of flashes her a look and says, "And Arthur would never commit suicide, but that's what happened." And that kind of just she kind of just glares at him.
Yeah, I'd say he has a real bedside manner there.
Yeah, Finley doesn't mind speaking his mind. He just won't smoke in the house.
Well, Tommy's put a lot of this together.
Really, says Marcus. Where is he? And he kind of looks around at the group.
He should be bringing your tea and crumpets.
Yeah, I sent them off to make my tea.
Ah, a real ladies' man, he says. That's good.
I've never thought about it that way. That particular term, a ladies' man.
Oh yeah.
Leave the kid alone, Finley.
And he kind of chuckles and says,
He's a good kid.
He says, "There's nothing wrong with being a dandy. That's fine."
Oh, no.
Now, see, there's some confusion there because
I think-
ladies' man usually means a man who has a lot of girlfriends.
No. He a dandy.
That's no.
And a man's man seems like a man who has a lot of girlfriends.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I was referring to the latter. Wait. No.
No? All right.
Tommy is not a dandy.
There's nothing wrong with it. He said. I don't see
Tommy just has good manners.
Tommy knows how to talk to women. See,
And-
we're out here talking amongst ourselves where he is in the kitchen with the women.
Bethany then goes, "Am I not a woman? Am I supposed to be part of this conversation? What is happening around me?" And she's just kind of like staring.
Case in point, madam. I
really can't begin to
used to being
apologize.
around each other that we, a lovely woman like yourself goes unnoticed. But Tommy, on the other hand, Tommy, he knows how to treat a woman. He's not a dandy.
Bethany, a question for you.
He just knows how to make a cup of tea.
Did Timothy know any foreign languages?
No, she kind of laughs at that and says, "No, he was as American as Americans get, and if you know what I mean, not very cultured other than his art."
He never showed interest in, say, medieval or ancient history.
No, not really. I mean, like I said, he was interested in art. That was his passion.
Art.
How about Arthur or Samantha or you? You have any interest in that area?
Not particularly, no. Arthur was interested a little bit in the occult, but that was about it.
Ah, I see.
A lot of people are interested in the occult nowadays.
That's why he listened to your show, after all. He found you all after listening to it, and he couldn't stop talking about it.
Realize
Thanks for the compliment.
most of that has been extremely, ridiculously exaggerated by Mr. Fowler.
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
We rescued an old lady's cat, and he turns it into a gigantic red demon thing that's been chasing us around.
well,
That's not.
that's all that Arthur could talk about for 2 days, for the last 2 days before his death. Is we need to get them. I'm calling them. I'm finding them. He would spend hours and hours, and then Marcus chimes in and says, and that's probably what he was doing up there. He was looking for you guys. He spent days in there, and the last time we saw him, which was about 8 hours before he died, he said, I found him.
Can I ask another
But
question?
I have something to ask. Why were you in that hotel,
I told you.
Marcus?
Arthur asked me to come up at around 9.
So you can see his detective skills are really not up to snuff. Not like it is on his fictitious show that he.
I do have a question. Why, Miss Tucker? Why was Arthur staying in a penthouse apartment at the most expensive hotel in Manhattan?
He was originally staying at a smaller hotel, but then
All the hotels are smaller.
Arthur had specific taste. It's something that he developed most likely from childhood. We spent, and you see her, her face kind of sink, and she goes, we spend a lot of time inside of a mansion, and I think that he just grew accustomed to.
But we're in the middle of a depression. Do you guys have that kind of money?
Well, I know that that Arthur definitely did. I suspect Timothy did, since we're getting stuff from his estate all the time. Arthur was very successful with his vacuum cleaning business. He essentially sells to everybody in south of Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana. He sells all throughout that section of the South.
He cleaned up then.
And she kind of chuckles at that and says, he did literally clean up. I mean, like I said, he doesn't make the vacuum, he just sells them, but they make decent commission. He basically started that from the ground up, I believe.
Yeah, but a vacuum cleaner salesman doesn't make the kind of commission that can let him stay in a penthouse apartment at the hotel in question.
Bellevue.
True.
Bellevue.
And she shrugs and says, but the owner of a successful sales corporation that sells vacuums probably would.
Well, not if he wants to stay rich. I mean, it just seems a little excessive. It's a question we had to ask, of course.
Like I said, Arthur was very erratic.
Do you still have the homestead in Georgia?
Arthur's place? Probably.
That's where he came from. That's where he lived. Okay.
Arthur lived in Savannah. And yeah, I'm sure that he still has his home. Once again, very big, very open concept, so to speak. He didn't need it.
What was your mother's name, if I may ask?
And she kind of looks at you odd, and there is a serious there's a very serious change in her look, and she says, why?
Just filling in the blanks.
And she looks at all of you.
Can I roll a while they're talking, can I roll a psychology on her to see what?
Yeah, go ahead. Roll psychology.
Well, maybe William could do that too, because he was about to ask a similar question, and he's been thinking about the painting that was in the house, and the fact that the photographs showed that they were all like pretty much the same age, and wondering maybe about the family history. So could I try a psychology too?
Yeah, go ahead.
I rolled a 6.
Okay.
I failed.
Thompson, she is very taken aback by the question. She is hurt. She is wounded. There is something there that she doesn't want to talk about, but she is angry about it. And she goes, and she says, my mother's name was Mary, and we're going to leave it at that.
I turn to Hawk and I say, I kind of say, sort of under my breath, but like in his ear, like just lighten up on her. She's hurting right now.
And what was your father's name?
You're just gonna ignore me. Okay.
And you can now, she's like visibly getting angry, and she says, what does this have to do with Timothy?
Just filling in the blanks.
Nathaniel.
All right, thank you.
Oh, come on! This is enough now. This is enough.
Yeah, she's obviously hurting there, Hawk. Give her. You obviously, made her angry.
Has Tommy brought the tea through yet?
And I say, I'm sorry.
Come on, Tommy. What's going on?
She turns to Felix and says, Mr. Felix, unless you have something actually relevant to the investigation, which you apparently have no leads for, but yet you need to fill in the blanks for, I would like you to leave. I will call you tomorrow, and you can pick up your checks then.
Yes, of course. Yes. I really am awfully sorry.
It's fine. Yeah. And she
We're sorry.
And she glares at Hawk and says, Marcus, if you could please get the door for them.
Tea's ready.
And she shouts, Tommy, you're leaving.
2 sugars.
All right, so I guess we're leaving.
William takes the china cup and sits in the car and away home.
So I'm assuming you guys get like a sip of your tea, but like Bethany, her arms are crossed. She's red in the face.
No, we leave.
Okay.
Yeah, we leave.
I guess in the car, I'm going to turn to Hawk and I'll say, "Oh, that went well."
Oh, please! It tells us a great many things.
I know it does. I know it does.
Why would she be so upset about the mention of her mother and father?
Thompson,
they died.
Can you give me a psychology roll?
Mother and father dies.
Well, they could be close together, really close.
Well, what you?
She was angry.
Well, she's angry that you're bringing that up, and she doesn't see the relevance of it.
No, this doesn't make any sense.
Well, perhaps not. But, I mean, people better than I do. I sit in an office reading through old texts and read about people's emotional states. And you're actually out there, so you would have a better idea. But from what I was gathering, from what I picked up off of her, you're probably right. There's something there, but that something that's there is hurtful to her, and you brought it up. And
this is my job.
I understand.
If I was worried about hurting somebody, I wouldn't get my job done.
I understand. I also understand that. But there's a way of going about it. You can hammer it pretty hard and crack your investigation that way, or you can do it in a more subtle way.
How would you suggest? Should I write her a letter?
No.
I just asked a simple.
But there are ways to pick up on a person's body language and
I can't find out the names from her body language. We have a picture.
I mean, you got the picture.
That labels her mother as mother. Doesn't that seem odd to you?
Well, I will say that I'm not saying that what you did was wrong. I'm just saying this is the reason why she is upset.
Oh, I know she's upset, and I kept going. In fact, my next question would have been, why are you upset?
Sticking the knife in it and twisting it doesn't really help there.
It does, Mr. Fowler. Have you ever studied detection?
I have studied detection.
Apparently you haven't.
Here's the thing. Hawk, I see exactly what you're doing. I understand what you're doing. And it makes sense.
For all we know.
from an investigative point of view.
For all we know, Bethany murdered her brother.
I find that very hard to believe. Mr.
It's
Walker.
possible.
Oh, it's possible.
Anything is possible.
It's not a matter of what you believe. Because family members murder one another all the time. Strangers don't usually murder people because strangers don't know you. They might be stealing your money and kill you.
Employing people to investigate an issue in which you yourself are a suspect would be a...
Come on, Felix. You're a magician. What a perfect way to keep you from thinking.
Honestly, Clifton,
no,
I don't think she killed.
Why is she so upset about the questions asking about her family?
They could have heard her when she was a kid.
You tell me.
It's just a question of social propriety.
You tell me what you know.
Bounds, that's all.
Tell me what you know, not what you think.
Well, this is
you just said that she killed her.
I did not.
Brother.
I said she could. There's something going on here, and we got to get to the bottom of it.
And I said maybe her parents.
I mean, there's a lot of maybes. There's a lot of blanks that need to be filled, and I believe that Hawk is doing what he feels is best.
The only way to fill in those blanks is to ask the questions.
True, but I also feel that there is a way of asking.
Look,
want.
I'm not going to justify the way I do my job. Okay, I do my job very well. So.
I don't doubt it.
Let the detectives do the detective.
I've worked with you for quite some time, and you don't fabricate lies. You don't come up with fictitious stories about how great and wonderful you are. So I know that you're the real deal, and I know that you get results. And this is how you get results. It's just that,
well, to give our
and to be honest with you, I haven't really seen you actually really interrogate someone like this.
It wasn't even an interrogation. Really, all I did was ask a very simple question.
Right. But
if I asked you who your parents were, would you have that kind of reaction?
Well, it depends on my relationship with my parents.
No, it doesn't.
It does. Well, I will say, according to Freud, and I'll throw out some psychology crap, whatever, and I'll say, they believe that through a person's development and their family life, that all of this has some aspect of their mental health.
Yeah. I think
I think that what happened here with her is that whatever happened to her family or her parents, it's still affecting her.
Mm.
For an example, you personally might lose a member of your family, and you might be sad about it for a while, but you're tough, so you'll say, "I'll get over it." Like even you said earlier, people die all the time, right? That's the way you look at it, because this is the line of work that you do. However, you're a detective. You're out in the streets. You've come across gritty stuff. You had to harden yourself against it, or you would have crumbled under the pressure. We don't know what type of work she's done or what position she's been in, so even the slightest pressure might crack her. And so while I get what you're saying, that it's possible that she could be responsible for this murder.
That's not what I'm just saying.
No, I didn't say
yeah.
Look,
hold on. I didn't say
stop. We can talk about this all night long.
Yes, we can.
The fact is, we touched a nerve. And I want to know what that nerve is, because it could be relevant to this case.
I think keep it under wraps. I understand.
I'm not going to keep it. Listen to me. If you hated your parents with every fiber of your being, and I said to you, "What were your parents' names?" You'd still just give me their names.
Yeah, but that's
You wouldn't
because
throw us out of the house for saying.
yeah, well, that's
Okay.
because, yeah, because if you hated your
But-
parents or you hated your family, you wouldn't, you wouldn't care because you're like, I don't care about them.
If you
However,
loved them with all of your hearts and they had just died yesterday, and I said to you, "What are your parents' names?" Just tell me.
I think you're letting
Okay,
the cynicism
so-
get the better of you.
Keep this under wraps. I honestly you can't, Clifton, but I'm afraid if we do continue this conversation and keep on it touching this issue, something's gonna happen to all of us. She's going.
What do you think is going to happen to all of us?
He's going to fire us.
William.
It's New York City. She could have us
William
put a hit on
sheepishly
us. Who
squeaked.
knows?
I think you're all overreacting.
Mr. Bamboni, would you like to do a magic trick for us?
And with that, we're gonna say that conversation. I loved it. Loved every second of it. But we're gonna continue moving on a little bit. Now Thompson's gone, so I can't have him do it. He kind of walked away. Felix, give me a spot hidden, please. You guys were sitting in the car yelling at each other, and then you're like, okay, we're gonna drive away.
Oh, 45 out of 68.
Okay. The front door, there's like a window. There's a mosaic in there. But essentially what happens is that when you turn to look, it's faded, but you see Bethany not crumple over, but she like leans against the post and she just begins sobbing. And you see like Samantha like kind of like walk over to her. She's like crying.
I thought we were in the car.
You are. The front door has glass in it. You can see through the windows, I hope.
Okay.
Yeah, she was in the foyer. You guys were all in the foyer talking, and Bethany is kind of leaning up against that very same stair post, and is just like kind of covering her face and is just crying.
You went too far, Hawk. You went too far.
And
Damn it.
so you guys.
Yes.
I think I know.
So you drive away.
Wait, I think I have a hypothesis
Okay.
for her reaction.
You give me your hypothesis.
No, I'm talking to them, not you. I have a hypothesis based on what you just saw. Bethany was adopted.
Well, that's none of our damn business, is it?
There's a little tear coming into William's eye as he gazes out towards the house.
What makes you say that, Hawk?
Because those aren't really her parents. She doesn't know who her parents are. And the thought of saying those names upset her because that's what would be up to. That would be one thing that you'd be very upset about, that you don't actually know.
Well, why the hell would you bring something like that up? What?
Because I have to know.
You're a monster, Clifton.
I don't know.
Because we have a photograph that says Arthur and Timothy and mother. Now, why wouldn't it say the mother's name?
William
That's
turns.
a weird thing to write on a photograph.
William turns to Tommy and whispers, "Is there going to be fisticuffs in this car?"
Probably.
No, we're just having.
No, there won't be any fisticuffs.
We're just having a discussion. It's a very important question.
I think I'm learning from you, Mr. Hawk, because when the photograph from the hotel had only the boys, and then the photograph in the house
The boys.
had the three of them, and they all looked. Bethany was a very close age to them, so it didn't look right.
We haven't heard anything from Tommy. What do you think, Tommy? You were very insightful in the last.
No, you guys, you're all off on the deep end on this one. I got nothing to do with this.
Tommy, has your tea making skill gone up 20% this episode?
Absolutely.
Did you have a conversation while in the kitchen making my tea, which I didn't get a real chance to try out? That's unfortunate.
First of all, guys, I could not have predicted her reaction in any way. I asked a simple question that should have had a simple answer.
Well.
So don't blame me for not getting
Oh, I'm not. No. Hawk. Don't think I'm blaming you or.
Where are we heading? To the hotel?
Yeah.
I imagine.
It's nighttime.
It's nighttime. I don't know where you're going. You're away from there.
We're all just sitting in a car outside the house.
Yeah.
Arguing.
I'm not being overcritical.
No, we're as this conversation is going, we're driving.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah. I'm not being overcritical. I understand your methods. I'm not saying that you're wrong for what you're doing. So don't get that idea. I wouldn't have gone that way, but again, I'm not a detective, so right. I can't. Yeah, so I'm not criticizing. Like I said, I think you get results. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're here for.
I understand that in order for me to find information out, I can't be emotional as far as these. I have to ask difficult questions. It's just part of the job.
Oh, yeah. All I was doing was more or less reporting why she was acting the way she was. Again, I'm not criticizing you.
Well, I think we don't have to pursue that any longer, but I do think that might be the case, that she was adopted. That would be it's the one thing I could think of that would upset me if that was a very sensitive subject.
It's possible. Could I do a psychology roll on that? Well, it's not really important unless it.
Well, there you go, Hawk. That's a victory for logic there. You definitely worked out how to upset her.
But the main thing.
I had no intention of upsetting her.
You were trying to get information. I totally understand, Hawk.
Very simple information.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing you.
I didn't ask her if she murdered her brother.
Now that would have been different.
That's next episode.
Well, it would have been a valid question because that's also a question that you asked to see if the person how respond to it.
True.
That's a very simplistic approach to investigating crime, I would say. Did you do it? Yes. Problem solved.
We should have tried it.
You'd be surprised how often that works.
Does it? I was about to ask you, how often will somebody just confess as,
It's not, it's almost never would they say yes, but it's the way they say no.
You just pull it on them at the last minute. Oh, by the way, did you do it? Yes, I did. Oh, damn.
Is that not what Columbo does?
Who's this Columbo?
One last thing.
One last thing. You did that very well last week, by the way.
All right. So
we're heading back to.
We're at the hotel now, yeah?
Yeah, you had a 30-minute conversation of yelling at Hawk and Hawk yelling at you guys, and just the back and forth. So you pulled up to the hotel.
Did you find any alcohol before? Because I really didn't drink that.
Right.
No, there was no alcohol in the room.
Oh,
God. That
I'm
was
going to have to drink liniment again.
I bet you the guys down at the supermarket would.
I possibly can fix you up there, Felix.
Tommy, give me an intelligence roll. You pulled up in front of the hotel. They're talking about alcohol. Give me an intelligence roll.
81 out of 70.
Thompson.
Concierge might have a.
Yes.
Why don't you give me an intelligence roll?
Oh my God! Why?
Felix, why don't you give me an intelligence roll? We're going to go down the list.
Oh, 47 out of 70.
You know what place would have alcohol?
Speakeasy.
A jazz
Canada.
club.
The jazz club would.
Oh.
Maybe the
What
Idol
about that? What
club.
about that jazz club?
We ever look that up in the phone book, see if it's here?
Nope, you never looked that up.
That's the concierge.
Can I make an intelligence roll or whatever it is to maybe know if I know of the place?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you live in New York.
Wouldn't you have said something to us before now?
You had to remember it.
Yes. Just give me a second. I'll just check. I did pass, so.
Okay. You know of several jazz clubs, but a specific one. I don't think you frequent jazz clubs, do you?
No, not really.
Yeah, so it's just like it could be like any number of jazz clubs. But Hawk does bring up a good point. The concierge may know, and if not, there's always a phone book. Okay.
Well, and he probably has a phone book, so if he doesn't know, he'll just get the phone book.
Exactly. So, you walk into the lobby, I guess. What would you like to do? There's a concierge behind the desk.
Bonsoir.
And he kind of raises an eyebrow and says, "What's that?"
Yeah, I don't say it in French. I don't speak French. Hey, concierge.
How you doing, buddy? And he's got a very thick New Jersey accent. He says, "What can I do you for?"
We got a hankering for some nice hot jazz. Have you ever heard of a place called the Idle Jazz? What was it? Rats. I had it written down in my other notes.
I think it's the Idle Jazz Club.
The Idle Jazz Club?
Think so.
No. And he reaches down and he pulls out a phone book and he starts slipping through. And he goes, all right, let's see here. Idle's Jazz Club. Oh, Idle's Jazz Alley. Here we go. Yeah, it says here it's up in the Garment District. It's just past Times Square. It's 70th Street. Yeah, it's right out here. And he just writes down an address on a notepad. And he rips the paper off and he hands it to you. And he says, yeah, you know, you guys. And he kind of he's young. He's like 23, and he kind of goes, "Are you guys looking for the old?" And he just does this.
Yeah.
Oh, us young people from 2000s don't know that this is alcohol.
Oh, yes, we do. Come on. I was being funny. Not very. Yeah, it wasn't very.
No. Okay. So, yeah, he goes water. You guys are going for that water. No. Okay. So you guys have the address in your hand. So Idle Jazz Club is in Manhattan. You want to head there now?
What time is it?
It's about 9. Sorry about that.
That's really high.
I can go really high.
Oh God, that hurt.
I can go really low and I can go really high.
That was physically painful.
I'll do it again in the next episode.
I'll tell you what, guys. I'm kind of fatigued. I think I'm going to stay here. Why don't you guys go to the jazz club?
Okay, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Who else would like to stay at the hotel? No one?
New York City Jazz Club. I definitely want to see what this is all about.
All right.
I don't think William's ever been to a jazz club, so this is another new experience for him.
Going to be on the edge stuff. There are going to be people singing, drinking alcohol, maybe even smoking cigarettes. Be prepared.
This will be book worthy.
All right. So you leave.
It should be fun.
We leave Hawk behind. Before we go to Idle's Jazz Bar, at Jazz Alley, Hawk, do you want to do anything in the interim? Or do you want me
I'm
to
going to investigate all of their parents' names.
All right.
I'm just going to go upstairs.
All right. You go upstairs, you're going to sleep. That's
fine.
Actually,
I'm going to ask the concierge if there's any alcohol available in the hotel.
And he kind of looks around and he says, what room you in?
Fourth floor. You should know what room I'm in. You got the things right there.
He's got to pull out a book.
Yeah.
He goes, there'll be a Coke bottle waiting for you. Just wait for the
Thanks.
knock.
Thanks.
And he kind of winks. All right. Idol's Jazz Alley. So, you guys go to the garment district. Do any of you know what the garment district is like?
Are there lots of garment businesses there?
Yes. There are lots of tailor shops, lots of textile shops. Like that's like the whole.
Oh, yeah, I've got an uncle who's got a place down there.
Oh, okay.
My uncle Jaime.
So what the address says is it gives an address like a building, but Idol's Jazz Alley is literally like the entrance is in an alleyway. It is between a Chinese like knockoff garment shop and then a textiles mill. So it's literally like wedged in an alleyway, and you can see that people are kind of lined up. There's a neon sign that's going off, and it says Idols, IDLES, like idling. And there's people kind of just waiting to go inside. They're talking to the bouncer, who's letting them all in, as the song ends. And so you can hear clapping as he opens the door, and people kind of go inside.
Hey, this place looks like the real deal. Shall we all go in then?
They said
Yes, let's go in.
All right.
Okay, let's do that then.
Who approaches the bouncer?
Oh, I will.
And
How's it going?
I will go kind of right behind you there, Felix.
And he's a big black guy. And he's just standing there, button-up shirt, sleeves rolled up, arms crossed, and he says, "What can I do you guys for? You heading inside?"
Yes, please.
All right. He points to the door and he says, "When you go inside, there's going to be someone there to take your coats. All right? Leave your wallet with you, but take everything else out, put them in the jacket. Jackets go behind the bar, just in case you guys want to get rowdy or something like that. No one can flash a piece."
Oh, understood.
And he nods and he says, "All right." And he pushes open the door, and you can hear people kind of talking between the song. And there is like a little wait area, and you can see that there is a gentleman standing there. And he kind of smiles and nods before you guys enter. And he kind of holds out his arms and says, "Coats, gentlemen?"
I hand them my coat and everything in it.
Okay.
With my hat and coat.
All right.
Pretty much everything I'm carrying is in my fanciful waistcoat.
A few doves fly out your jacket.
It is a magician's waistcoat that I'm wearing, so it has got lots and lots and lots and lots of pockets.
William realizes he's still got his boomerang, so he kind of sticks that on the inside of his jacket and hands it over.
Oh. Okay. So you guys enter inside then, but you give everything that you have, and you walk inside. Very low. It's literally like you walk inside and you're just hit by like cigar and cigarette smoke. Like it's difficult to see. So many people are smoking.
Wow, this is the real deal. This place, isn't it? The cigar
Yes, it is.
Hanging in the air like Portuguese crockery.
And what you're seeing is it's a very small little bar. Wood tables are all situated around a stage. There is a spotlight on the stage. A single mic sticks up. You're going to see that off to the side of the stage there's a piano and then 3 other musicians there. And they're just kind of idling around, waiting for the singer to come back out on stage. And there is a bar. And that bar is kind of a makeshift bar. It's made from like a bureau in the back and then a dresser. All right. What do you guys want to do?
I'm going to get myself a whiskey.
Yeah, I'm going to basically go up to.
All right.
Music.
No music yet. That begins a little later. But you guys go up to the bar. So Felix is going up to the bar. Fowler's going up to the bar. What about Tommy, Thompson, and William?
Imagine we all are.
You're all going up to the bar. That's fine. All right. So you guys go up to the bar. There's a gentleman there. He's kind of washing a glass. He puts it down on the counter. He says, "All right, what can I get you guys?"
Can I
Whiskey.
get some salt? And I kind of, seltzer, and I kind of wink at him, kind of.
He looks at you, Fowler, and he says, "You're in a bar." And he points, and he says, "There's alcohol here. You don't need to wink. Are you cops? Are you a cop?"
No.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. You said whiskey, and he points to Felix.
Yep.
Preference?
Yes. Something that wasn't made in a bathtub.
And he kind of nods, and he looks at the other three, and he says, "And you guys?"
Same.
Yeah, I guess I'll have this.
And he looks at you.
The good stuff, the Belgian stuff.
And he looks at you, Tommy. He says, "Are you sure you should be drinking whiskey, kid?"
After tonight, yes.
What about you?
Let the kid drink.
And he nods at William and says, "What about you, college kid?"
I'll have the same as Tommy here.
Hmm.
Because he's my best friend.
Hang on to your hat there, William.
And he puts 4 glasses down, and he puts another glass off to the side for Dexter. And he's pouring the whiskey into each of the glasses. And he looks, and he kind of gives an eye to you guys, and he says, "On the rocks?"
No.
As it comes.
All right.
Yep.
On the rocks for me.
And he says,
no, give me no.
And he kind of chuckles and says, "Good, because I already started pouring." All right. And he then looks at you, Fowler, and he takes a bottle of fizzy water, and he twists it, and he pours it into a glass and says, "So 4 whiskeys and a seltzer." And he kind of pushes it over to a club soda, and he pushes it over to you, Fowler. He says, "And is that it?"
I say, well, we were hoping to meet a friend here recently, but we've not seen him for a few days. And I describe Arthur, well, without the blood and the gore. I describe Arthur.
Yeah, you
would have
saw
liked.
a picture. You saw a picture of him.
And
We're looking for a guy who's active.
He's got no eyeballs. Do you recognize
Have
him?
you seen it?
All right.
So and I say the name Arthur and say he was coming to the club and it was him that recommended it. So can I come away with some story to?
And the bartender he nods and he goes, "Yeah, I remember that guy. He showed up one night a couple weeks ago, and then he'd come basically every night for about a week. All of a sudden he stopped though. I hadn't seen him in a while, about a week and a half, maybe just a week. I recognize the guy you're talking. He was a little weird.
Yeah, he's a bit strange sometimes. But he was saying that he was supposed to be coming to meet somebody. Was he meeting somebody here, or was he just on his own?
Meet some? No, he sat alone. I mean, alone, if you know what I'm getting at. You know him.
Alone with female company? Alone.
And he kind of raises an eyebrow and says, "Well, the guy was crazy. He was batshit, right?"
Yeah, that's him. That's the one. He was supposed to meet us here, but we've not seen him, so.
He nods and he says, "Hold on. Let me do a roll really." Yeah, okay. He leans forward and says, "You don't really know him, do you?" And he nods and he goes, "Are you cops?" And he says that in the most authoritative voice he can muster. He's a big guy.
I would say, no, we were actually looking for his brother who's missing, and the family's really worried for him, so. Nothing to do with the police.
Well, that guy you're talking about, he was clearly batshit crazy. He
Yeah.
was he'd sit at a table over there, and he points at a corner of the room. And as the music was playing, he was talking
Yeah.
to himself.
Yeah.
And then when the music stopped, he'd go like this.
Hmm.
At one point, I saw him taking the napkins we put on the table, in case something spills, and he's shoving it in his ears.
Oh. We knew he was crazy, but we didn't know he was that bad.
Well, I mean, and of course, I saw him at one point, doing this.
Hmm. When he was coming in, I take it the last time he came in, he was probably the worst.
Yeah. You look like shit. You look like you haven't been sleeping.
Did he ever say anything to you when he was here, just that might help us find his brother?
No, not. He didn't say anything. He didn't order anything. He would just enter, sit at the table, and he'd plug his ears until the music started. When the music started, he'd unplug. And at some points, he didn't talk, but there were other points where he was like talking with someone who was like next to him. There was no one there, though. He was just talking to the wall. And so the music would play, he'd be okay, but then the music would die down. We're on a break right now. You see how it is. It's not too loud, but as soon as that happened, ears are plugged. Like it's too loud. It's not that loud in here now, is it? And he kind of looks around the room.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you can hear me talking to you right here. It's not like when the music's playing. When the music's playing, you can't hear anything.
Yeah, it's
other
stuff,
than the music.
it's stuff going on in there,
Did you happen to overhear anything that he was saying when he was talking to himself?
He was way across the room. I couldn't hear anything. Besides,
You have any wait staff that might have walked around and might have heard something he might have said and came back to you and said, "Hey, this guy is really batshit crazy," as you put it.
well, I mean,
he's saying this.
I talked to some of the people around here. Misty, one of our waitresses, she wouldn't go near him. Most of them wouldn't go near him. He was talking to himself. He was acting batshit crazy. Like I said, he took the napkins and shoved them in his ears. And he's off in the corner. People are looking at him. People are scared of him. There was a ring of tables surrounding him. No one would sit by him because he's just muttering. He's just talking to himself. So no one talked to him. And he didn't order anything, so why serve him? He'd sit there. He would sit there from opening until closing. We close at 4 a.m. We open at 9. He'd sit here, open to close, muttering to himself. When we do last call, he put 5 on the table, walk out.
Oh, well, thanks for your help. As we say, we're just looking for his brother. William gives him a tip and gives him, say, get a drink for yourself, Thanks very much.
Yeah, well, after talking about that guy, I'm going to need it. All right. So what are you guys doing now?
Well, we're drinking.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have a look around while we're drinking. Have we been followed?
Give me a spot hidden.
Nope.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in here, and it's very, very musky with the cigar smoke. All right.
Well, if you can't beat them, join them. I'm gonna light a cigarette and take a sip of my whiskey and settle in for a while.
Okay.
I think.
All right. We have a few minutes if you guys want to discuss before we sign off.
So did that guy say that he was stuffing napkins in his ears?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I guess that explains what all those torn up bits of towel were.
So
So
the
maybe
the
he was doing
voices.
the same thing in the hotel room, stuffing bits of towel in his ears.
Perhaps. Well, we do. Well, at least when he called me, he was yelling about. I guess he was the voices that he was hearing,
Now,
and maybe
actually, yes. When
yeah.
I spoke to him on the phone, he on the telephone, as we call it in this period of time, he said something very similar. He was shouting that. So he was hearing voices. Wow, he was.
Yeah.
It looks like I may have been wrong about that being a murder. I think that could well have been suicide. It sounds like he was
Yeah.
pretty far gone.
Yeah.
But the way the bartender explained it, obviously it was like constant because he needed this other noise, the music and other things
To drown it out.
drown
Yeah.
it out.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah.
Well, that makes sense why I would be here every single
Yeah.
night.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing this jazz music.
Yeah.
Should be good.
And with that, we'll end. The woman comes up on stage and she says, "How's everyone doing tonight?" And as the lights dim, we end our episode.
Mm.
Cool. All right. And our players included Mick Swan, Jeff Wilkins, Corey Highstead, Ken Trench, Wayne Worthy, and myself, with Thomas McKeon as the keeper of the secrets. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We love reading them. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good gaming.